Welcome to the Happy Life Challenge. You thought I was going to say Happy Life Studios, didn't you? Well, welcome to Happy Life Studios, too. That is putting on the Happy Life Challenge. 7 days of happy, a happy week. If we can have a holy week, we have all sorts of weeks that we celebrate every year. Celebrating important people, important organizations. So I can't think of something much more important than celebrating than being happy. It's something that we all desire. If we can have a holy week, why not have a happy week? 7 happy hacks that will help us develop a happy habit. Just think about that for a moment. I mean, we all have bad habits, right? We do things over and over again that we don't want to do. We just have this habit. We don't want to eat that or be like that or do that, right? It's a bad habit that we have that makes our life more unhappy. But what if we developed a habit of being happy where no matter what comes our way, we just lean into happy because it becomes a habit? We describe a happy life at Happy Life Studios differently than a lot of people describe happy. A lot of people think that to get happy, it's all based upon circumstances getting along. Well, circumstances very rarely cooperate with our lives. They just show up and they tend to wreak havoc. But what if we developed the habit of happy that no matter what came across our path from day to day, we would just find ourselves leaning into happy, just being happy because it's just what we do. They say it takes 21 days to create a habit, right? So what if we took these 7 days of happy and every week we play them again for 3 weeks? After those 21 days, we are going to be well on our way to developing a habit of happy. That no matter what comes our way, we just find ourselves being happy because it's become a habit. That's something that would just change our lives, and it would change our world as well. So for the next 7 days, we're going to be giving you one happy hack a day. And then, just like Holy Week that culminates with the exclamation point of Easter Sunday, we are going to culminate with the International Day of Happiness. We are going to celebrate globally with people around the world. In the same way that Easter is celebrated around the world, the International Day of Happiness is celebrated around the world. The United Nations, 10 years ago, created the International Day of Happiness. In 2013, they created it. And now people from all around the globe celebrate it. So, and every year we always do a podcast on the International Day of Happiness. And we do it on the actual day, which is always March 20th. Well, this year, March 20th lands on Monday. And we actually thought, why not do a podcast on the International Day of Happiness before it happens, which is what we did on Monday the 13th. And then every day we will do another podcast on how to be happy and lead up to the International Day of Happiness, where we will celebrate globally with people around the world. And even more of a purpose than a lot of them are going to have, because we are on the path of developing a habit of happy. So, happy challenge number 1. And I have to say something to you. I don't know if I want to say it because I don't want you to turn this off. I don't want you to stop listening to me. Truth is, you may have heard somebody tell you this before already anyway. But you certainly aren't going to expect it from a place called Happy Life Studios. But I just got to say it. You ready? Okay, here we go. Don't get offended at me. I just got to say it, okay? You're full of it. Yeah, you heard me. You are full of it. So am I. We are all full of it. We are all full of something. We're awful or hateful or peaceful or thankful or disrespectful or hopeful or joyful or cheerful or hateful or vengeful. I mean, we're all full of something. The question is, what is the it? That's what makes a difference. Because we can either be awful or we can be delightful. We could be painful or we could be peaceful. We could be vengeful or we could be full of forgiveness. We could be hateful or we could be full of love. We could be boastful or thankful, dreadful or hopeful, fearful or beautiful, disrespectful or grateful, harmful or delightful, hurtful or helpful. But you can't be full of both at the same time. It's like fresh water and salt water. Once you mix them, the salt water takes over the fresh water, and it is no longer fresh water anymore. It is salt water. You can't be awful and delightful at the same time. You can't be hateful and full of love at the same time, or vengeful and full of forgiveness at the same time. It can't happen. So what is that we are full of? If we want to be happy, if we want to add happy into our life, if we want to add joyful, if we want to add cheerful into our life, but our life is already full, then we have to get rid of something to add something. And if you want to add happy to your life, then we have to do it by removing something. And like I said, you can't be harmful and delightful at the same time. You can't be fearful and hopeful at the same time. So the happy challenge today is simply this. What's something small that you could get rid of, that you would like to get rid of in your life? I mean, do you struggle with stress? Are you stressful? Do you struggle with anger? Do you struggle with anxiety? What's the one thing that you want to remove so that you can add happy in? Because if you want to be happy, it's going to take some work. Happy just doesn't show up with a bag full of gifts and money and step on our front doorstep and ring the doorbell and say, hey, can I come in and live with you the rest of your life? Happy doesn't do that. It does take some work. So what do we need to remove so we can replace it with happy? So if you're stressful, there are all sorts of videos and resources out there that we can look on how to change our stress. Every one of us are stressed for different reasons. Maybe it's a schedule change that you need to work on, or maybe it's a perspective on a particular thing that you need to work on, or maybe it's learning how to get along with somebody better. I don't know what it is for you. That's what your happy challenge is to find that out. What about anger? If you're struggling with anger, maybe there's someone that hurt you. Maybe you're painful. Maybe you feel a lot of pain. Maybe there's someone that you need to forgive, because when you're holding on to unforgiveness, it's not hurting that other person at all. It's only hurting you. So maybe you need to forgive somebody, or maybe you need to let go of some things. Maybe you have some unmet expectations in your life. That's where anger comes from. What are those expectations that you have that are not being filled? Maybe we need to find a new perspective on those things. Maybe, like I said, you're struggling with anxiety. We did a whole thing on this podcast called A Penny for Your Thoughts with Nina McCaffrey, all based on helping people that struggle with anxiety. So what I'm saying is there's all sorts of help out there that we can get. But before we get to the help, we got to ask ourselves a question. Do we want to be happy? Number one. Number two, if we do want to be happy and our life is already full, what do we need to remove so we can make room for the happy? And number three, how are we going to remove that? Even if it's something small, what do we need to do to take a little stress out so that we can add some happy back in? What can we do to remove the anxiety so that we can replace it with happy? What do we need to do to subtract the anger so that we can add the happy in its place? There you are. Happy Life Challenge number one. We'll be back with a challenge tomorrow. But before tomorrow, seriously, take some time, take some moments and sit down and say, what is it that I need to remove? And what plan of action do I need to do that? What's something that I can do? There's people out there that you can ask as well, friends that you can ask. Have some fun with this thing. In your mind, see this happy habit developing. It may take some time, but it is definitely worth the time. And I'll see you at the next Happy Challenge.